And hello everybody and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast today. Of course, I mentioned last week that I was not going to do a podcast, but my last minute family thing ended up becoming a last minute cancellation thing. So here I am doing a podcast this week, and it's kind of interesting because this week it's been pretty slow news-wise. I mean, there was a lot of big trailers that dropped this week, so I'm going to be talking about those. But of course, as always, we're going to talk about all the movie news that has come out. One particular item that came out, of course, last week, it was on Sunday, that I just want to quickly mention is the passing of Bill Paxton. And I'm sure, you know, maybe people who listen to this podcast and just movie fans in general know something about Bill Paxton. And he was a tremendous actor who had a great body of work. You know, people probably know more as Private Hudson from Aliens or Titanic, he was on a few shows like Big Love and the CBS show Training Day. But he's been in a bunch of other stuff as well. Tombstone was one that was on the other day too. So this you know, it just all of a sudden happened. I think I wrote down his age, but for whatever reason I don't have it in front of me. But he was young. He was still pretty young. He died of complications after a surgery. So, you know, obviously there's nothing you can do with stuff like that. But it's pretty rough, to say the least. So obviously, thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family, and of course all the fans will miss him dearly and have been missing him dearly as well. So moving on from that, there was only one real big thing that happened, movie news-wise anyway, last week after the podcast went up, which was the Oscars. Of course, everyone's talking about the mishap at the end, which is fair because it was a big mishap, to say the least. And of course, that's, you know, basically the thing that everyone's been focusing on. But it doesn't take away the fact of what happened that night. There was some big winners, of course, that night. La La Land being, you know, going in was one of the big things. It was a record-tying nomination with Titanic and All About Eve, but it ended up being the big winner anyway, with 6 Oscar wins for Best Production Design, Best Original Song with City of Stars, Best Original Score by Justin Hurwitz, Best Cinematography by Linus Sandgreen, Best Actress by Emma Stone, and Best Director and Damien Chazelle. But of course, the big winner of the night ended up being Moonlight. It ended up being La La Land for like a few seconds, but of course Moonlight was the big winner with Best Picture. It did also end up walking away with Best Supporting Actor in Mahershala Ali and Best Adapted Screenplay by Terrell Alvin McCraney and director Barry Jenkins. Other big winners of the night were Hacksaw Ridge, which earned 2 technical awards in Best Sound Mixing and Best Film Editing. Other technical winners that night were Arrival for Best Sound Editing and The Jungle Book for Best Visual Effects. When it comes down to the other winners, of course, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them won Best Costume Design, earning the first Oscar for the Harry Potter franchise. And another surprise of the night, besides, of course, the crazy ending, was The Suicide Squad is now an Academy Award-winning film for Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Yes, we now live in a world where Suicide Squad is an Oscar winner. Let that sink in. Other winners included O.J. Made in America for Best Documentary Feature, The Salesman for Best Foreign Language Film, which is from Iran, Zootopia won for Best Animated Feature, and of course the other big acting winners, not nominees, winners, were Viola Davis for Best Supporting Actress in Fences, Casey Affleck won for Best Actor in Manchester by the Sea, and speaking of Manchester by the Sea, that also came out with 2 wins with Casey Affleck, but the other win was Best Original Screenplay, which was written by the film's director, Kenneth Lonergan. So those were all your big winners for the Oscars last. I mean, the show was, pretty fun. I mean, it's, if it's your thing, it's your thing. If it isn't your thing, it isn't your thing. And I thought Jimmy Kimmel, who was the host, did a pretty good job, even despite the whole ending craziness that happened. And I know a lot of people were already talking about the ending and how it takes away Moonlight's win because it was announced that La La Land won, and of course, the whole ending thing. And everyone's blaming Warren Beatty, but, despite the fact, whatever you want to say about Warren Beatty, like, oh, he's an old man, he didn't know what he was doing. Faye Dunaway, when she read that, she was out. She wasn't seen anywhere. So, it was a great year of movies. And I mentioned this last week when we talked about the Oscar nominees. It was a great year for movies. It was a great year for films. All the films that were nominated for Best Picture, with the exception of Lion, because I hadn't seen it yet. I do plan on seeing it. I know it's still playing in a few theaters around me. I do plan on trying to do that this weekend. But it was a good year for movies, so it could have been any movie really that won. And the fact that Moonlight won, the fact that it was announced that La La Land won, and then they realized their mistake with Moonlight. It doesn't take away it does take it away in some essence, because Moonlight, it doesn't get that, it kind of, anytime that someone brings up, oh, Moonlight won Best Picture, yeah, it did, but this happened, and that's kind of good. It's going to have like a little asterisk next to it, and I think that's going to be the bit of a sting, but it doesn't take away anything from Moonlight as a movie. Moonlight is a great film. If you haven't seen Moonlight, I do recommend it, and not just because it won Best Picture at the Oscars, but because it is just a good movie in general, all around. So, despite the mishap, it was a good show. It was a good night to see everyone, get the win. All right, so let's move on to this week's news items. Again, the physical news items were pretty low this week. It almost would have been okay if I didn't do a podcast this week, but I wanted to do it anyway because there was a lot of trailers that dropped. So we're going to talk about the news items first, and then we're going to talk about the trailers. So the first movie news item of this week will contain some very little bit of spoilers, so if you don't want to know anything, I recommend that you go down below to the description/show notes area where there are timestamps, and just click over to the next news item, because the first news I'm going to be talking about is TRON 3. And one of the quotes that I'm going to read gives the ending to TRON Legacy, which if you haven't seen, I do recommend you watch, because it's a good film. There's some stuff there, but it's overall, for me anyway, it was a very enjoyable movie that doesn't get a lot of love that I think it deserves. But we're going to be talking about TRON 3 a little bit, and it talks a little bit about the last film's ending. So just want to point that out there. Unless you don't care about that kind of stuff, then just keep listening. So back in 2015, it was announced that the sequel to TRON Legacy, which would have been titled TRON Ascension, was going to potentially start filming in Vancouver. Of course, it is 2017, and that didn't happen. The film was going to be directed once again by Joseph Kosinski, and would have brought back stars Garrett Hedlund and Olivia Wilde as Sam, Flynn, and Cora, respectively. However, filming never got started, and Disney never actually greenlit the film in the first place. So the sequel that was wanted by some fans, me included, was put on hold. So skip, forward to this week, Collider held a special IMAX screening of TRON Legacy with a Q&A afterwards with Kosinski, the director. And he let fans know exactly what was going on with TRON 3 and what the third film, would have been, or maybe could still be, about if Disney ever decides to do it. So when it comes to the status, Kosinski did explain the film is not canceled, it's just, as he puts it, quote, on a cryogenic freeze. And he mentioned that the sequel, when the sequel was done, TRON Legacy, he's talking about TRON Legacy at this point, that Disney didn't own Marvel or Lucasfilm at this point, which is true. It happened years later. So their slate their slate back then was a lot more free, and it's not like it is now where, their slate is pretty much filled up with all the Marvel properties, with the, surge of more Star Wars movies coming out. It's true. So there is that. However, the part that really hurts now is what the film could have been about. And again, I say maybe could be about if Disney does decide to move forward with Tron Ascension. So he said that the film would have picked up where Legacy left off. And this is, again, if you kept listening for some reason and you're like, I don't want to know, this is your last spoiler warning. Exploring the idea of Korra in the real world, and the film would have been an invasion movie. So here's the actual quote that I'm going to read. Saying, quote, what I'm excited about this concept, which is an invasion movie from inside the machine coming out, as opposed to one we've usually seen. So we hinted at that at the end of Legacy with Korra coming out. The idea of Ascension was a movie that was, the first act was in the real world, the second act was in the world of Tron, or multiple worlds of Tron, and the third act was totally in the real world. And I think that really blows open the concept of Tron in the way that would be thrilling to see on screen. But there's also a really interesting character study in Korra, and a stranger in a strange land, trying to figure out where she belongs, having lived in the real world for a few years, and where does she fit in. So it looked like the third movie would have been a bit of a character study with Korra, and when we saw Legacy, or some people saw Legacy anyway, the ending did leave, a lot to, it did leave it open for a sequel, potentially, and it did leave a lot of stuff open for potential third film, like what's gonna happen with Korra? Now she's in the real world, where does this go? Where does her character go? And I was kind of excited to see where that went, but obviously Disney never greenlit the sequel, and of course they picked up all the Marvel properties. And I'm not blaming Marvel, don't make it sound like that way, but it was true. The way he put it did, and the way he said it, there was a video of him doing this, by the way, doing the Q&A. It didn't sound like he was blaming Marvel or Disney for not, doing this third film. It's just that he was pointing out the fact that the slot space is very limited now that Marvel is in the picture. So personally, as a fan of Tron Legacy, I am bummed that Disney hasn't greenlit the third film a little bit. And knowing that there is an audience out there too for this movie does, hurt a little bit more. But the concept sounds pretty cool. I would have enjoyed seeing where they would have gone with that. But here's holding out hope that they still do a sequel. I mean, it took a long time for them to do a sequel to Tron, so hopefully it doesn't take as long for a Tron 3. Alright, so let's move on to the next news item. A Wizard of Oz universe set horror movie is being developed. That's right. In this week's, well, that's very interesting news. New Line Cinema is in early development on a horror film set in the world of L. Frank Baum's novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The studio bought an untitled pitch by screenwriter Mike Van Ways, but other than that, no other information is known. Now, Ways is still an unknown in Hollywood, as he only has 2 other projects signed up. Both of them are pretty much still in the very early development stage, so we don't really know too much about them yet. And we don't really know too much about this, other than it's going to be a horror film set in the world of The Wizard of Oz. Now, of course, we all know the 1939 film with Judy Garland, which is an instant classic. If you haven't seen Wizard of Oz, I don't know what rock you've been living under in. That doesn't make any sense. What rock you've been living on? Why does that sound weird coming out? Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. But a horror film set within The Wizard of Oz, that seems, or it was set within the world of Oz, I should say. Because The Wizard of Oz is an actual person, not, but, yeah. I don't know, it could be interesting, maybe. Maybe it just depends on who they bring in. Because right now they only have the writer, they don't have any producers attached at the moment. But it sounds, I don't know. I mean, I guess, with the right people and the right story, I guess it could really work. I personally haven't read a lot of the Wonderful Wizard of Oz or any of the other Oz related material, to be honest. And I've always wanted to. I just never went out and got the books. But I don't know. Do you guys, if any of you have gone out there and have read any of those books, do you think a horror film works? I mean they have witches. I guess that's kind of a blanket statement. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm actually filming this pretty late, so maybe I'm just a little tired. Anyway, let's move on to the next news item. Josh Gad's LeFou in Beauty and the Beast will be Disney's first gay character. Now, this is the other this is interesting news side of the spectrum. The live-action Beauty and the Beast film, which will have something to separate itself pretty much from the original, of course, along other stuff, and being live action. One of the characters will be gay. According to reports, Josh Gad's LeFou, the sidekick of Gaston, played by Luke Evans in the movie, will be portrayed as gay, making him Disney's first ever LGBTQ character. Director Bill Condon told Attitude this, saying, quote, LeFou is someone who on one day wants to be Gaston and another day wants to kiss Gaston. He's confused about what he wants. It's somebody who's just realizing that he has these feelings, and Josh makes something really subtle and delicious out of it. And that's what has its payoff at the end, which I won't give away, but it is nice, exclusively gay moment in a Disney movie. But it's a nice, exclusively gay moment in a Disney movie. Now I can't read. Gad also spoke about this, tweeting that he was beyond proud to do this, making LeFou in the movie gay, and it's actually a dedication to the original film's late lyrist Howard Ashman, who died before the animation of the film, or died before the animated film premiered in theaters. I seriously cannot read today. I'm gonna leave it in. I don't care. But yeah, he died before the film premiered, and I guess he, from the sounds of it, I guess he was gay at the time. Well, I guess he was always gay, but yeah, this is interesting. I mean, I know this isn't particularly like really a huge deal, at least for me. It is cool to see that Disney is going to go down that route. They're okay with, going down this route and making this decision, especially considering, how big Beauty and the Beast is to a lot of people, and it's essentially a very huge brand name that they are going to do this to, and they're going to show this to a whole new audience of people that have either never seen Beauty and the Beast or don't really know too much about Beauty and the Beast. Now, I don't know how many I honestly, I haven't been reading a lot of the feedback off this, because this came out earlier in the week, and I kind of I've actually been trying to avoid it, because I don't want to read a lot of the nasty things, but some of the stuff that I actually was able to read a little bit, everyone seemed kind of to be okay with that, and there are people out there that thought that maybe LeFou wasn't the character that should have been gay. I just saw the headline, didn't actually read it, because I was just scrolling on my phone at that time. But I don't know. I mean, as long as they handle it right, and they don't just make him gay for the sake of making him gay, I guess it could be fine. We'll find out. We'll find out sooner rather than later, because Beauty and the Beast comes out later this month on the 17th. That's just a few weeks away, so we'll see what happens. The Transformers spin-off film Bumblebee finds its director. Now, despite how you feel about the franchise, Transformers is going strong, but it was announced last year that the franchise would start doing spin-off movies, and one of those movies was Bumblebee. Now, with the Transformers The Last Knight coming out later this year, it looks like the focus is shifting to that film, because it was just announced the film has found its director. According to Deadline, Travis Knight will direct Bumblebee. Now, Knight made his directorial debut with Kubo and the Two Strings, but Bumblebee will be his live-action debut. Knight will direct off a script that's currently written by Christina Hodson, who is also working on Gotham City Sirens for Warner Bros. And DC Entertainment. We don't really know anything about the film, other than, of course, the fan-favorite Transformer Bumblebee will be involved, and will probably be the main focus. When it comes to Knight, though, it is a rather interesting choice, considering this will be his first live-action directorial effort. But Knight handled Kubo and the Two Strings very well. I was a huge fan of Kubo and the Two Strings, and he knows how to handle big projects. He's actually the CEO and president of Lanka Entertainment. He's the company behind Coraline, Paranorman, and the Box Trolls, and of course Kubo and the Two Strings. So he knows how to handle big projects with a lot of CGI. I mean, all the movies are stop motion with CGI, of course, added into it, but he knows how to handle stuff like this. So it is interesting, though, that they would go with him, considering, he doesn't have a lot of experience directing-wise, because Kubo and the Two Strings was his first movie. This is going to be his second movie, but his first live-action movie. But there has people that made the jump from special effects, of course, to live action and stuff like that. But Knight, I don't know, but just when I think about it, I was like, Knight wouldn't be the first person I would assume would direct a Bumblebee movie. But I'm not opposed to this. I think it's a pretty great idea. I think it's pretty cool. Again, he handled Kubo and the Two Strings very well. So let's just hope that that Paramount gives him a lot of control. They give him full reign. Well, not full reign. Obviously, it's his first live action movie, but obviously they wouldn't hire him either if they didn't like some of his vision and some of his ideas. So there's no word yet on when the project will go into production, but yeah, I'm kind of okay with this. Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that there's going to be more Transformers movies, I'm okay with this going down. David Harbour is being eyed for Cable in Deadpool 2. Now, Deadpool 2 is currently getting its script worked on, but it's still trying to find one major key component: an actor for Cable. Some names have been attached, like Kyle Chandler and even Pierce Brosnan, and unofficially names like Ron Perlman, Stephen Lang, and even Russell Crowe have shown interest or said, yeah, I'm down for it. But now we know at least one name is officially being looked at for the film, and that is, once again, David Harbour. Now, according to the Wrap, Harbour is being eyed for the role of the fan-favorite character Cable. Now, his casting is not confirmed, and no offer has been made. However, he has screen tested with Ryan Reynolds and is definitely one of the actors under consideration for the role. Collider then went on further with the Wrap's report, confirming that yes, he is being offered the role, but they even went on to say that Michael Shannon was previously in the mix, but is no longer in the running due to scheduling conflicts. So, there you go with that. Now, for those who don't know about Cable, he does have a very complicated and intriguing history, let's put it that way, in the comics. He is the son of Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, and Jean Grey, but he and Deadpool do have a history in the comics, teaming up on multiple occasions, and even trying to kill each other on a few others. But, nonetheless, the two have a very frenemy, but somewhat mutual respect for each other in the comics, so it should be interesting to see kind of how they play that out in the film. Now, when it comes to Harbour, I think he's a fantastic choice. He's a great choice, and I'm kind of happy for him because he's become a household name in a lot of ways with Stranger Things. He plays the sheriff in the show, and he's done a bunch of other stuff. He's been in Hollywood for years. He's been one of those character actors that you kind of just see pop in, and you're like, oh, it's that guy. I've seen him in stuff before. So it's nice that he will probably get a lot of more mainstream exposure if, of course, he gets the role. Again, it's not confirmed that he will get it. Yeah, I think he's a solid choice, and it will give him more mainstream exposure, and of course, it would also give the character of Cable more mainstream exposure if he's chosen. So we'll see. We'll get to see a little bit of what goes on with that. But in the meantime, we're still waiting to see kind of when production starts and everything else. Of course, they're still trying to figure out who's going to play Domino in the film as well. And of course, we don't even know what the hell the movie's going to be about. So we got a lot of stuff to figure out of Deadpool besides finding out who's playing Cable. But if David Harbour is the one that gets the role, personally, I think it's a really great choice. And if you don't know anything about David Harbour and his other line of work, I highly recommend you start doing your homework, because I think he will nail it out of the park if he does get the role. Alright, so let's move on to our final news item of the week, at least at the time of this recording. I am recording this a little earlier as well. Again, I didn't think I would be doing a podcast this week, so I wanted to get one out as soon as possible. So, if anything major drops, of course I will put it on the Facebook page, but this is the last news item of the week, at least at the time of this recording. The theoretical release of the Logan is James Mangold's director's cut. With Logan being released this week, of course, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Fans are eager to find out just a little bit more about the film, of course, without spoiling themselves, of course. I just say of course 2 times? I think I did. We already know that the crew shot a post-credit scene that was filmed after the film did its first, its premiere, I should say, not test screenings, its premiere. I wrote test screenings on my outline, but I meant premiere for critics. And then it's getting universal praise. Everyone's saying it's really awesome. Everyone's saying it's really good. I don't know. No, not a lot of people can be wrong. So there is that. So the question is, what more can we find out about the film? Again, without spoiling anything for us. Well, it turns out that James Mangold, the director, has an answer for someone who asked on Twitter, saying if the film will get a director's cut when it comes out on home video. Mangold replied, saying that the Logan cut we see in theaters was the director's cut. So we don't have to worry about it because it's there. It's his version. It's no Fox Fox isn't going in and be like, hey, you should cut that. Nope. It's his version. It's his cut, which is really, really cool. And although it may not seem like a big deal, Mangold, of course, directed The Wolverine, directed 2 cuts of The Wolverine, one PG-13 version and one rated R version. Of course, the one we saw in theaters was the PG-13 version, and the one released on home video was the unrated, uncut, director's cut version that they had also done. So probably just want to take that into account. And also, Logan is already almost 2.5 hours long. It's officially 2 hours and 21 minutes. So it's a pretty long movie. So if there is any deleted scenes in there, they're probably not very, substantial. They're probably just a lot of establishing shots and stuff like that. But I think fans can rest easy knowing that the version they see in theaters is Mangold's cut. And we'll probably get the staggering little deleted scenes when it comes out in home video. But this is pretty cool. This is pretty awesome because you don't usually see director's cuts a lot of the time. You always get, the soft cuts. You always get the studio cuts in a lot of ways. So this is pretty cool. All right, so let's move on to this week's trailer talk. We have, like I mentioned, we had a lot of trailers dropped this week. We have a new little short trailer for Cars 3 that was released this week. Just, nothing really new. It's been some shots that were there. I think that it establishes a lot of the newer characters in the film, especially one of the villains. Villains, quote unquote. It is still a Pixar movie. So there's that. We had a new Kong Skull Island trailer released. I didn't watch it. I'm not going to watch any more trailers for King. I wanted to watch, and then I realized it comes out next week. I don't want to see any more. I'm already excited for the film. Just gonna leave it as is. So there's that. A new Red Band trailer came out for Chips. That's coming out later this month as well. Of course, Red Band, not safe for work. A lot of raunchy jokes in there. It's still kind of funny. There's still a lot of stuff in there. So I mentioned when the trailer came out for Chips. When it came out, I think it was last month when it came out. It looks kind of funny. It doesn't look that bad. The Red Band trailer does show that it is going for a more raunchy style than I would have thought it was going to go for. But hopefully, it isn't that bad. So there's that. So the 3 big trailers that were released this week, kind of really one after another, really. It felt like they came out one after another. There was a new trailer for Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales.
Pirates had infected the seas for generations. So I vowed to eliminate them all. And then there was this boy, Jack Sparrow. Follow him in! He took everything from me and filled me with rage.
The dead have taken command of the sea. They're searching for Pearl, a girl, and a sparrow.
I have heard stories of a mighty Spanish captain whose son didn't kill thousands of men.
No, men, no. No. Pirates. Pirates.
I once knew a Spaniard named something in Spanish.
He's coming for you, Jack.
Where's your ship? Your crew? Your pants?
Jack!
I'm so sorry, were you still talking?
There's nowhere to hide. Find Sparrow for me.
From this moment on, we are to be allies.
Considering where your left hand is, I'd say we're more than that.
Monkey.
I'm not looking for trouble.
What a horrible way to live.
You will pay for what you did to me.
The men on that ship are looking for Jack, so I'm going to swim for it.
Karina, stop that.
No, don't stop that.
This has gone far enough.
No, it has not.
I saw her ankles.
You'd have seen a lot more if you kept your cake holes shut.
It doesn't look that bad. I would have never thought, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this in the podcast before, I never would have thought that I would be looking forward to another Pirates of the Caribbean movie after watching the last one, which was not very good. And even after the third one was just okay. It felt a little bit too long for its own good, but I never thought I'd be excited for another Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and I am for this one. This one doesn't look that bad. This trailer, it does go a little bit more, it does show a lot more Johnny Depp this time around. They've been hiding him a little bit. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if they're probably making Johnny Depp more of a supporting character, kind of like he was, or not, like a really big supporting character like he was in the first film, or if they're just trying to, not lean on Johnny Depp too much for the marketing for this. But this is pretty cool. We could see even a young, like really young Jack Sparrow. It's almost like an origin story in a lot of ways too, because we see what he does to Captain Salazar in the beginning of the trailer. So I don't know. It looks pretty interesting. It looks pretty cool. It does look like they're harkening back to the first films, which I thought were the better films. So I'm still looking forward to it. I'm not totally excited. I probably said I was excited. I'm not completely excited, but I am looking forward to it. Should be interesting to see how those go. So yeah, it doesn't look too bad. So the next trailer that was released was Alien Covenant.
You've all sacrificed so much to be here and be a part of this thing we're doing. This crew is made up of couples. It's the first ever large-scale colonization mission. And everyone back on Earth is really grateful for your hard work and your courage. We're making history here.
This is weird. What are the odds of finding human vegetation this far from Earth?
Who planted it? You hear that?
What?
Nothing. No birds. No animals. Nothing. What happened here?
What's happening?
I need you back here right now. I need you.
Okay, baby, just calm down, sweetheart. Calm down.
Tell me to calm down.
You're breaking up!
All of this is to start our new life. Where is it?
Holy.
This looks really, really cool. I'm really excited for Alien Covenant. I really am. This trailer just does it more for me. The last trailer they released, I think it was on Christmas. Yeah, it was on Christmas when they released their kind of first trailer. That got me in immediately. But this one just puts me back in that zone. It's a full, a lot of people, the complaint that people had for Prometheus when it came out was that it wasn't a real Alien prequel like they thought it was going to be. It turned out to be more of a sci-fi movie, a sci-fi kind of thriller with horror aspects. But this one looks full-blown horror. There's going to be a bunch of people that just get destroyed and killed, and it just that's what it looks like, and that's what it feels like. I really dug this trailer. It really gives away a real great sense that, if you didn't like Prometheus, we're making it up for you, because this is going back to what made Alien and Aliens fan favorites, the horror aspect of it all. So this is I'm looking forward to it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking forward toward Alien Covenant. I was always looking forward to Alien Covenant. So, but this trailer just pushed that envelope for me personally. And there's that great shot at the end, and a lot of people were saying like, "Oh, you didn't need that shot. It looks kind of." I don't think they needed put that shot in, but I don't know. I still loved it. I thought it was still pretty awesome. So Alien Covenant, A for effort and A for being an awesome trailer. The next trailer, which is our final trailer, at least again at the time of this recording, a new trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Hope you're ready. It'll be here any minute. Is that a rifle?
You don't know what a rifle looks like?
It's just swords were your thing and guns were mine. But I guess we're both doing guns now. I just didn't know that.
Well, that's intense.
I see it within you. Fear, jealousy, betrayal. It is our duty to cleanse the universe of this weakness.
You know, they told me you people were conceited douchebags, but that isn't true at all.
Dude! I'm using my wrong eye.
Drew, put your seatbelt on!
So we're saving the galaxy again?
Yep.
Awesome! We're really gonna be able to jack up our prices if we're two-time galaxy savers. Yes!
Sometimes the thing you're searching for your whole life, it's right there by your side all along.
You're right, Bernard.
All you do is yell at each other. You are not friends.
No, we're family. Except maybe her.
After all these years, I've found you.
And who the hell are you?
I'm your dad, Peter.
This is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. This is a really good trailer. It was something different, and the trailer really surprised me because it was different. you know, when you hear a Marvel trailer gets released, you know, you expect like this, you know, you just expect, you know how you expect it. You expect the trailer to go a certain way. And even though the trailer does go a certain way, you know, it's very vibrant, it's a lot more colorful. You know, you get a lot of great shots of everyone. You get a lot of great shots of Gamora and Star-Lord and Drax, Baby Groot, of course, Yondu, Nebula. You see Elizabeth Debicki's character Aisha in there as well. And then, of course, at the very end, you get the very button. You get Kurt Russell, who says, you know, he's Star-Lord's father, it's going to be a very big moment in the movie, and it's going to be a very big moment for the whole film. And James and a lot of people were saying like, oh, they give away too much in the trailer. James Gunn, the director, and the co-writer, I don't know if he wrote the whole thing or he co-wrote with someone, but he came out, nonetheless, he came out, and he said that scene that we see at the end of the trailer where Kurt Russell comes out and says he's Star-Lord's father is in the first, I think he said like first 5 or 10 minutes of the movie. That's what he said. So, and James Gunn's not that kind of guy. It's like, oh, we're not giving away too much. No, if he says he's giving away too much or not giving away too much, he means it. James Gunn is not that kind of. I almost said James Mangold. James Gunn isn't that kind of guy that plays around with the fans. He tells the fans tells them how it is and the truth. He's not one of those guys that plays coy or anything like that. So, if James Gunn says that scene takes place in I forgot what he said, like 5 or 10 minutes of the beginning of the movie, then that's probably the case, and that's probably the truth. So it looks like that is gonna, you know, obviously propel the movie and propel the plot and all the characters' actions. So it should be pretty interesting to see how that works out. Again, I thought the trailer was different because I don't know. I guess I don't know what I was expecting. But the trailer's great. It is, and I think it was really. I don't know. I felt like I was expecting something different, but I got this instead, and I'm still okay with this. This is a good trailer, so we'll see how that turns out. Of course, Guardians of the Galaxy will open up the summer movie season when it comes out on that first week of May. I don't know if it's May 5th or May 4th, something like that. So there you go. And those were all the trailers. Of course, if you want to go see all the trailers for yourselves, you can go down to the description/show notes area, and I will have a link for all those down below. So let's move on to this week's releases. We have 2 limited releases this week. The first one is Table 19, written by Mark and Jay Duplass. Ex-maid of honor Eloise, played by Anna Kendrick, having been relieved of her duties after being unceremoniously dumped by the best man via text message, decides to attend the wedding anyway to find herself seated with 5 random guests at the dreaded Table 19. The cast also includes Stephen Merchant, Amanda Crew, Lisa Kudrow, Wyatt Russell, Craig Robinson, Tony Roverali, and Margot Robindale. I saw the trailer. I saw the TV spot. I haven't actually seen the trailer. I've seen the TV spot on TV. I think it was actually the trailer because it was a pretty long TV spot. So it was the actual trailer. I don't know. I mean, it looks okay. I like Anna Kendrick. I like most of the cast. I like Stephen Merchant and Margot Robindale and Lisa Kudrow. Craig Robinson, of course, is in there as well. And I'm a huge fan of his as well. But I don't know. It looks. It's a limited release, so I don't even know if it's be playing in my area. But there's that. The other limited release is Headshot. The film stars Iko Uwais, Julia Estelle, and Very Tri-Yulsman, all people who were in The Raid 2. This is not another Raid movie. It is a movie with those 3 people from The Raid 2. So it stars Iko Uwais as a man who can't remember anything, and he washes ashore with a serious head injury, and he can't remember anything. So he's being nursed back to health by a young doctor who takes a very special interest in this case, and then his past comes back to haunt him. And I had the opportunity to see this film at the Chicago International Film Festival last year, and it was awesome. Though the fight scenes were it's exactly what you expect from this team from The Raid, or at least the actors from The Raid. The fight scenes were great. The film does have some tonal issues. It kind of switches from like drama to a straightforward action film. It doesn't really handle it too well, but it's still a great film. If you're an action fan, you're going to enjoy the hell out of it. If you're a fan of of Iko Uwais, who of course was in The Raid, he's the main star from The Raid. You're gonna love it, and you're gonna love all the action scenes, and that's the only reason you're gonna go watch this movie is because of the action scenes. But they do a really good job of setting everything up anyway, personal and dramatic wise. But the tonal shifts between the stuff, it does get a little murky and doesn't really work too well. But overall, it is an awesome movie. So if you get an opportunity to see it at a theater near you, I highly recommend it. Headshot. All right, so let's move on to this week's wide releases. In the first film, we have The Shack. A grieving man receives a mysterious personal invitation to meet with God at a place called The Shack. The film stars Sam Worthington, Octavia Spencer, Tim McGraw, Rhonda Mitchell, and Alice Braga. The film is, of course, as you can obviously tell from the synopsis, it is a religious film, and it's not really targeted toward me, but the cast is pretty solid. I mean, Sam Worthington, when he's given the right material, is really spot on. You can't go wrong with Octavia Spencer. Rhonda Mitchell's always great too, and Alice Braga, again, you give her the right material, she's great in that. So the film isn't really targeted toward me too much, but I've been seeing some of the early reviews, and they're not too bad. They're pretty decent, but again, obviously the film's not for everyone, but if you're interested in these movies, there you go. The next film being released this weekend is Before I Fall, which is based off a novel by Lauren Oliver. February 12th is just another day in Sam's charmed life until it turns out to be her last. Stuck reliving her last day over one inexplicable week, Sam untangles the mystery around her death and discovers everything she's in danger of losing. The film stars Zoe Deutsch, Liv Hewson, Logan Miller, Austin Sage, Diego Boneta, and Jennifer Beals. Again, another film not targeted toward me. It is based off a young adult novel, and it's basically pretty much, as you can again tell from the synopsis, it is essentially almost like a Groundhog-esque teeny sci-fi movie. Sci-fi in the sense that, she's reliving the same day over and over again. Not targeted to me. I've seen the trailer a few times. Nothing's really been, pushing me in. Zoe Deutsch, I've seen her in a few other stuff, and she's great. She's a great actress, and I can't wait to see what the future has in store for her. But I don't know. This movie just isn't doing it for me. The trailers didn't really do it for me. So it's a pass for me. But it doesn't matter because, of course, the big movie this weekend is Logan. In the near future, a weary Logan takes care of an ailing Professor X in a hideout on the Mexican border. But Logan's attempts to hide from the world and his legacy are upended when a young mutant arrives, being pursued by dark forces. Of course, the film stars Hugh Jackman as his last ride as Wolverine/Logan, Patrick Stewart in also his last ride as Professor X, Daphne Keane playing the young mutant, aka X-23, Boyd Holbrook as the villain of the movie, Stephen Merchant as Caliban, and Richard E. Grant as the other villain in the movie as well. Again, universal praise. Everyone's saying that Logan's really awesome. I already have my tickets for the movie. I'm going to go watch it. I'm probably going to go watch it more than once if it's really that good. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. I cannot wait for this movie. It is going to be awesome. At least from everything I've been hearing, everyone's saying it is the best X-Men movie, even though it's not really an X-Men movie. Everyone's saying it doesn't even feel like a comic book movie or a superhero movie. It feels more like a Western. I'm excited. I really am. It's rated R. So for whatever reason, there's parents listening to my podcast. It is rated R. Do not take your kids unless you're okay with your kids seeing people dismembered, which I assume is probably happening from some of the Red Band trailers. But yeah. I'm looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this since that first trailer got released. I'm totally down. I cannot wait. And if this is Hugh Jackman's last performance, and everyone's saying it's great and everyone's saying he's great in it, then I don't know. You know what? I might cry. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen people who haven't been spoiling it. Obviously, I haven't been spoiled, so I have not been spoiled at all. But I want to watch it without getting spoiled. But from some of the people that have been doing like non-spoiler reviews and stuff, them saying, if you cry, it's okay. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Logan. And of course, it's the big movie this weekend. I mean, no disrespect to The Shack and Before I Fall. Sure, you'll get your audiences, but Logan, it's gonna be Logan. Logan's the big movie of the week this week. So let's move forward to the box office predictions. Of course, I didn't make any predictions last week because I thought, again, I was going out of town, which I didn't end up going out of town because obviously I'm here doing a podcast for you guys. So last week's actual box office, Get Out won the top spot at number 1. The Lego Batman movie came in at number 2. John Wick Chapter 2 came in at number 3. The Great Wall came in at number 4. And 50 Shades Darker came in at number 5. So my picks this week are going to be, of course, Logan is going to be the number 1 movie this weekend. Logan at number 1, Get Out at number 2. I'm pretty sure what the good word of mouth is going to put Get Out in a very good position. But again, if Logan wasn't coming out this weekend, Get Out would be number 1 again. But Logan's going to be number 1 this weekend. So Logan at number 1, Get Out at number 2, the Lego Batman movie at number 3, John Wick Chapter 2 at number I can't count now. Logan at number 1, Get Out at number 2, the Logan Batman movie, the Lego Batman movie at number 3, John Wick Chapter 2 at number 4, and I think maybe The Shack or The Great Wall are going to duke it out for the 5th position. The only reason I say The Shack is because obviously there is a very big audience for these kind of movies, the religious movies, and it feels like over the last couple years, the religious movies have been getting a lot of the audience that they want into their movies, and a lot of these movies have been making it into the top 5, and sometimes they've been making it into the top 3. So there is a there is an audience for that. So I do think that The Shack will probably pull up some big numbers, or maybe I'm just misunderestimating people's anticipation and wanting to see The Shack. But every time a religious movie comes out, you can't really deny it nowadays because it feels like studios are making these movies for that audience, and audiences are coming out to go watch those movies. So I think The Shack will be duking it out for the top 5. I think Before I Fall, I haven't seen a lot of promotion Before I Fall, to be honest. Maybe I'm not watching the right channels, or maybe I'm just not watching the right stuff. But the only thing I've really seen Before I Fall has been at the movie theaters, and I've only seen the trailer like twice there, and maybe I've seen one TV spot. That's it. So it's getting a nationwide release, but for some reason, well, it's getting a wide release, not a nationwide release, because that means it's in every theater, and it's not. But it is getting a wide release, and I haven't seen a lot of promotion for it, so I don't know. Maybe it has a big social media presence that I don't know about. But again, it's not targeted toward me, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, not looking too good for Before I Fall from what I can see. So Logan at number 1, Get Out at number 2, the Logan Batman movie. I did it again, the Lego Batman movie. I got Logan on the mind, guys. The Lego Batman movie at number 3, John Wick Chapter 2 at number 4, and I think The Shack. I think The Shack, or maybe even The Great Wall, because The Great Wall pulled some great numbers last week as well. But The Shack and The Great Wall will probably be duking it out for the top position, or the number 5 position, I should say. Top position at the number 5 position. I guess you can say that. But yeah, so The Shack, The Great Wall, I guess I would put Before I Fall, because it is a teeny bopper movie, and I guess, they want to go watch it. But again, there hasn't been a lot of promotion for it. So that's, and I've seen a bunch of trailers for, a bunch of TV spots, I should say, for The Shack. So that's another reason why I'm thinking The Shack's going to pull out at the box office, but I could be wrong. So once again, Logan, Get Out, the Lego Batman movie, John Wick Chapter 2, and The Shack will be the top positions, the top 5 for the weekend. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I know I'm getting the first 3 right. I know I'll be right on those. 4 and 5 are up in the air for me. So thank you guys so much for joining me on the podcast this week. I know last week I mentioned there was going to be no podcast, but that was on me. That was my fault. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. There will not be a podcast sometime this month. I know there won't be, but obviously I will let you guys know in advance when that will be. I'm pretty sure I said the last 2 times at the end of the podcast now that I want to start doing more podcasts, and I want to start building this out a lot more than I already have, with the Facebook page and everything. So I will be potentially doing starting a review podcast day, a section of all this. So it will be a separate podcast coming out at the beginning of the week, and this week next week will probably be a good starting point with Logan. So I will probably be doing a review podcast for Logan next week. I don't want to make any promises on that because I want to see how everything turns out. And but yeah, there's that. But if there is no review podcast, I will be doing a written review. I always do written reviews for the movies that come out over the weekend. Although I didn't do one for Get Out. I haven't seen Get Out yet. I do plan on doing that as soon as possible, and thankfully, no, I have not seen any spoilers for it. But I will be doing a review for Logan and for Get Out once I, of course, see it. Those will be at my WordPress account, movieswithchris.wordpress.com, movieswithchris.wordpress.com. There is a link down below in the description / show notes area if you want to go check that out. While you're down there, also give that click to my Facebook page, which is the Facebook page where I post all the movie news. Well, not all the movie news, but most of the movie news, the big movie news items, and essentially gives you an early preview of what we're going to talk about here on the podcast. And everything else in between as well. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. You guys have been great. Again, I know I said I wasn't going to do one, just last minute crazy family stuff didn't happen. I mean, it's happening, but it didn't happen. I don't want to bore you guys with the personal details and stuff, but thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I appreciate it. Go watch Logan. Go watch Get Out. I'm going to take my own advice on that because I haven't seen it, but I want to go watch it. So go watch those two movies. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I will see you guys hopefully next week. And yeah, so as always, have a safe, fun weekend and go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movie!